In this video, we will be discussing several different angles related to a circle. Now, one thing before we get started that I want you to keep in mind, this is going to be one of the most important things to remember throughout this section, is where is the vertex of the angle located? So I'm just going to make a note up here. This is what we're going to be looking for with each of the different types of angles that we're going to be discussing. The location of the vertex. Where is that vertex located in relation to the circle? So we've already talked about central angles. So this is just kind of review this first one. And in central angles, notice that the vertex is located on the center point of the circle. And we already know that if the vertex of the angle is on the center of the circle, then the measure of the angle is equal to the measure of the arc that that central angle contains. So for example, if we wanted to find the measure of this central angle and we knew that the minor arc between it is 40 degrees, then the measure of that angle would be equal to the measure of the arc, so it would be 40 degrees. Moving on, the next type of angle we're going to talk about is called an inscribed angle. An inscribed angle always has its vertex on the circle, and the entire angle is located inside of the circle. So if the vertex is on the circle, so it's not on the center point, it's on the circle, then the measure of the angle is equal to 1/2 the measure of the arc. So the measure of the angle is half of the arc. So if we wanted to find the measure of this inscribed angle and we knew that the minor arc was 30 degrees, then our x would be equal to 15 degrees, half of that arc. Okay, moving on. The next one is called a tangent chord angle. This angle is made up of a tangent line and a chord line. Notice that for this angle, the vertex again is on the circle. So it's going to have the same formula as the inscribed angle. So if the vertex again is on the circle, the measure of the angle is equal to 1/2 the measure of the arc. So even though these two angles look different, the vertex is still located in the same spot. So we're going to calculate it the same way. So let's say we wanted to find the measure of this tangent chord angle, and we knew that the major arc is equal to 210 degrees. A lot of times people get stuck on a problem like this because they don't know what to do from here. Well, if we know the major arc is 210, we can find the minor arc by subtracting 210 from 360. And when we do this, we get 150 degrees. So this arc would be 150 degrees. Now to find the measure of that angle, we would have to then take half the measure of the arc that's contained by it. So this arc is contained by it, just like this arc here is contained by it. So we're going to take 1/2 of 150 to get the measure of angle X, which is 75 degrees. So that would be your final answer. The next angle that we'll be discussing is called a chord angle, and it's made up of two chords. Let's just say we're trying to find the measure of that angle X there. Where is the location of that vertex? The location of that vertex is inside the circle, but not on the center point. So the vertex is inside the circle, but not on the center. So if it's inside of the circle but not on the center point, then the measure of the angle is going to be equal to half the sum of the diagonal arcs. And what do I mean by diagonal arcs? I mean the two arcs that are diagonal from that angle. So this would be one of my arcs. This would be the other one. So we would take those two arcs, add them together, and then take half of that to get the measure of that angle. So let me give you an example. Let's say I want to find the measure of this angle here. So to find the measure of angle X, I'm going to do 1/2 of the two diagonal arcs, so that would be the 45 degrees and the 200 degrees. So 1/2 of 45 plus 200, or half of 245 degrees, which would be 122.5 degrees. So that would be the measure of angle X.